What's up, everybody? Welcome to the In Love with Horror podcast. We're your hosts. I'm AJ.
And I'm Kristie. Join us for a love affair with all things horror as we explore the world of horror films, games, and everything in between.
All right, y'all. As always, we got another great show for y'all this weekend, and we got a lot of trailers to talk about. There's a lot of very interesting looking movies come out, and a lot of holiday horror type of movies coming out. Super exciting to go through the trailers today. Of course, for news, we'll be talking about Terrifier 2 getting a re-release and getting some extra scenes in the credits, as well as the teaser trailer for Terrifier 3. That's going to be real exciting to talk about. And then some other news about, of course, the Stranger trilogy that's coming next year. Box office news, y'all. We got the numbers for the Thursday night preview for The Exorcist Believer. And then, of course, for the main topic for this video, it's going to be our spoiler review for The Exorcist Believer. So make sure you stay tuned because all that and more coming up on the In Love with Horror podcast. All right, y'all. So as we always do with each episode, we'll start with what we watched this week. Now, before I jump into that, of course, it is the spooky season, y'all. It is October. And with that, we got our 31 nights of Halloween movie marathon. So we did put out a list of all the movies to watch each day of the month, y'all. And for the first week, we had an 80s theme week, right? And so we had things like Poltergeist, Fright Night, The Thing, all the incredible 80s classics that we watched this week. Now, next week is week 2, and that's going to be our slashers theme. We're going to be watching things like Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, X, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. And for the family-friendly option, we got The Witches. So make sure you go and download our movie marathon list because it's got some incredible films on there. We're watching them every night, and we do like stories. And of course, we want to discuss these films with y'all. So make sure you go and check out that on our social media channels. And with that, we'll go ahead and jump into what we watched this week. And starting off with you, baby, what did you watch this week?
All right. So I watched a couple different new movies that came out this month. If you're following along, I did my October release that I do every month. And these are a couple new films that we talked about. So the first one I watched was Totally Killer, which I watched on Prime. And I'm pretty sure that was a Blumhouse produced film. And it was really good. I had a really good time with this one. It's like, well, they describe it as being like slasher, like a Scream slasher plus 80s vibes and all that kind of stuff. So you have this girl and her mom and her mom's friends lived during a time in the 80s where there was like this serial killer, and her mom's friends were victims of this serial killer. And so, she's like grown up her whole life being warned about being careful and, aware of their surroundings and all this stuff. And then something crazy happens, goes left. She ends up coming in contact with this killer in present day, and she ends up going back in time to try to stop the killer so she could stop everything from happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually a really fun time. This is like one of those movies you sit down with your friends, have popcorn, pizza night or whatever, because It's funny. It's like a comedy slasher, and a lot of the comedy is rooted in the differences between now in the 80s, like certain things you can't say anymore, that come across homophobic or racist and stuff like that. She's like always like, yeah, you totally shouldn't be saying that, or stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, it was good. It was a really good time. Actually, I was like literally laughing like quite a bit, like out loud. Yeah. So that was good. And then I watched VHS 85 on Shudder. And if you're not familiar, VHSs are anthologies. And this one was okay. There were like 2 of the anthology stories that I liked. And then I liked the main story that was kind of interwoven in between the different pieces. But yeah, it's not my favorite VHS. I just really like the earlier two.
Yeah.
But this one was okay. It was just okay. It was definitely, they had the gore level up on high for sure. Like that was really good. And the, practical effects, all that stuff, that was good. But some of the stories were a little bit weak to me.
Okay.
Yeah. But definitely it's still worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of VHS movies.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to watch it. I plan on watching it like probably right after this, but it's kind of disappointing to hear. Hopefully,
well,
like,
we're different.
Yeah, I might.
So you might
I'm thinking I might like it. I'm hoping I will be, but of course that's going to be. Even when you told me earlier, I was like, "Oh, it's disappointing to hear," But
yeah,
I'm still gonna give it a chance, and we'll see. We'll see.
That's why I said, give it a chance.
Yep.
And then also, I finished a book, episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. I actually have a review of the book on TikTok, so you can go check that out.
Yeah, it's a good review, y'all. Make sure y'all go check that out now.
Thank you, honey. Yeah, I gave my rating and all that stuff, but it was okay. It was just an okay book. I had heard that it was really good, and so that's obviously why I checked it out. It's like a found footage movie, but in written form. And yeah, if you like found footage, you might like the book. It was just some stuff that was just like, it was too caught up in the details, I think. That's kind of made it. Yeah. But I got my full details and video review on TikTok if you're interested in knowing more about it.
All right, well,
what did you watch this week, baby?
Well, yeah, thank you, baby. Some great options there for everybody to watch or read.
Yes.
For me this week, of course, we've been watching the movie marathon list movies. You see, we've posting the stories on our TikTok and IG. So of course, been watching those. But outside of that, I did go and watch No One Will Save You. Of course, you talked about this, I believe, in the last podcast, babe. So I finally got around to. I got an opportunity to finally sit down and watch this, and I really enjoyed it. I think for me, the ending of it kind of like took away from it a little bit. Like I thought the ending was kind of goofy.
I was wondering what you were going to think about the ending.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it, but it wasn't really what I was expecting or hoping for, especially with how everything played out leading up to it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. I won't spoil it here because it is such a weird way that it ends. The visuals, though, are incredible. I will say, like, the special effects in this movie are really, really good. I like the designs of the aliens. I like a lot of the tension within the film. It's very like awkward and weird at times, which I think kind of adds to that sci-fi horror element. It's just a fun movie with, especially when it comes to aliens. Like, you don't really know what to expect or what kind of aliens it is in this movie. And so I like how they presented all those things. I like how they presented the technology, the powers, like all that stuff is super wild, super crazy, visually looking amazing. But just the ending for me is kind of what was like, I get it. It was weird. It was cool. It was unexpected, but I think I would have preferred it to have ended in a different way. So I do recommend it. I do still highly recommend people watch this film because it is very unique. It's very different. And I think when films like this come out, we have to show support to just kind of like say like, hey, we want more original films like this, because there's not really any films that I know of that are really like this. We got stuff that was close, like Dark Skies, in the sense of like, the suspense and thriller aspect of aliens torturing, or not torturing, but, stalking a family or whatever. But nothing that's quite like this. So I recommend everyone check it out at least once. Go show support. It's a 20th Century Studios film, and I feel like they always kind of think outside the box when they make their films. So go show this movie some love over on Hulu. But that's what I watched this week. And that will conclude that section, y'all, for what we watched this week. Now we'll jump into all of the trailers that dropped this week. We got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, y'all. Starting off with a trailer for a film called Night Swim. Now, Night Swim is written and directed by Bryce McGuire, and it was produced by James Wan and Blumhouse. Now, this film is based on the 2014 short by Rod Blackhurst and Bryce McGuire. The film version stars Wyatt Russell as Ray Waller, a former Major League Baseball player forced into early retirement by a degenerative illness, who moves into a home with his wife, Eve. uh, uh, when I'm reading the thing. I got kind of lost in the text. My bad. So his wife Eve is being played by Carrie Condon. His teenage daughter Izzy being played by Amelie Horfele. I'm butchered that. I'm sorry, y'all. And his young son Elliot being played by Gavin Warren. Now, the father, secretly hoping against the odds to return to pro ball, Ray persuades Eve that the new home's shimmering backyard swimming pool will be fun for the kids and provide physical therapy for him. But a dark secret in the home's past will unleash a malevolent force that will drag the family under into the depths of inescapable terror. Now, I haven't seen the short. I think you said you've seen the short before, right, babe? At least it vaguely triggered your memory, right?
Yeah, it triggered something when I watched it. I was like, I feel like I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that it was based on a short, I was like, okay, so maybe I've seen the short. And
I don't recall seeing it. If I have, I've completely forgotten it. But I think that I like the trailer. I think the concept is cool. I like the concept of like another world being in the abyss or the depths of this pool. Because there's a point where she gets dragged down. You see like the kind of the light of the pool being stupid far away. Like she's getting dragged into a whole another dimension or something like that. So I like that aspect. I'm curious to see like how it will play out in a full length film, because I feel like you got to have people as like cannon fodder, essentially, like people who are going to actually get killed, and who is that going to be? Just like random friends, or like people who just sneak into the pool and use it at night, like random people to kind of create the scares. Because if it's just the family, I don't know how you're gonna create the scariness of just this pool in isolation. But I mean, I think it looks interesting. I'm definitely gonna check it out. What do you think about the trailer, bro?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's worth checking out. I think for me, movies that play on real fears gonna be a lot more scary. And just imagining being in a pool in the dark and being pulled down, I think that's a really scary idea. But like you, I'm wondering what all the movie will entail. Like how does the story develop and all of that. So we'll find out. And I mean, I feel like a movie that is going to be produced by James Wan and Blumhouse can't be too bad.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you never know, but you're right. It's when it's got that kind of backing, it could, be decent. I liked the buildup of suspense in the trailer. But hey, shout out to her for voice. Yeah, that voice is super creepy. But I was gonna say, like, shout out to her for committing to the game. Like, I would have been open my eyes like a long time ago. Yeah. She was like, she even dove down and came back up and was still playing the game. I was like, yeah, go on. Like, she really is into this game. She ain't letting it go. She ain't opening her eyes. I would have been open my eyes a hot minute ago.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this trailer shows a little promise. I think I got to see. Like, because this felt just like I don't know if it was titled as a teaser trailer, but it's just called official trailer.
It does seem like a little teaser because you don't get anything else other than this pool shot.
Yeah, you don't get nothing else. So now I'm wondering, like, okay, if it's like a spirit or a creature in there, will they come out of the pool and stalk the family in that kind of way, or is it just like strictly only be in the pool? Like, I need to see more beyond this trailer.
Yeah.
But again, y'all, that's called Night Swim. There's no date on this yet. It just says coming soon. So we'll keep y'all posted and updated once they drop a release date. Now, moving on to the next trailer that we got. We got an announcement video for the second season of Castlevania Nocturne. In this video, it was what appeared to be like storyboard sketches of, storylines in the second season. And here's just some information about that first season of Castlevania Nocturne. In its first 5 days, the video game adaptation reached Netflix's top 10 English TV list during the week of October 1st. It also reached the top 10 in 40 countries. Sam Dietz and Adam Dietz will once again share directing duties for the second season. Project 51 Productions and Powerhouse Animation will continue to produce for Netflix. And then if you're not familiar with Castlevania Nocturne in that first season, here's a quick synopsis for y'all. So the season 1 synopsis: France, 1792, the height of the French Revolution. In a remote part of Western France, the counter-revolutionary is it aristocracy? Okay. I feel like I'm messing it up. My bad, y'all. Has forged an alliance with the terrifying vampire Messiah, who promises to eat the sun and unleash an army of vampires and creatures to crush the revolution and enslave humanity. Annette, a sorceress from the Caribbean, seeks out Richter Belmont, last descendant of the long-fabled family of vampire hunters, to lead the resistance.
Don't that sound hard? Y'all gotta watch this show. It's so good. Like, you got this vampire Messiah ready to unleash darkness, basically. Well, it's really like an eclipse, but yeah, so vampires can basically rule. It's just so good. I was like, I would never thought I would be sitting here telling anybody that I like the anime, but
yeah, I know. That's why I was super shocked by it. Yeah, I'm like, even when you first talked, like, I'm gonna watch it. I was like, wow, you gonna watch this anime? An anime?
So
like, wow, like you don't ever watch no animes like that.
So good. I mean, it just, to me personally, it makes it even better to see Black characters being badass. Of course. And these Black characters in here being badass.
Oh, they hard. Yep.
I love it. I mean, Richter's good too. And he got like this whip. I don't know if you played the game before or know who his character is.
That's like his iconic weapon. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's cool too, but the whole thing is just really, really good. And I'm hyped for season 2. Like, obviously the ending of it, I was like, they better have a season 2. So it's good that they are.
Yeah, so obviously enough people watched it for them to go ahead and greenlight season 2. So it's doing well so far, and maybe we'll get a couple more seasons, just like the other Castlevania show. All right, y'all. Next on the list for trailers, we got a kind of new trailer / TV spot for The Exorcist Believer called "This Is the Exorcist Believer," and it's kind of a take on a 70s like TV trailer or TV spot. It's about 50 seconds, and it kind of has like the scrolling text with that like old school TV voice that you're familiar with. Where it has the title, the text scrolling across the screen saying, 50 years ago, there's this story, and then we got, the story of these 2 girls, and even the verbiage feels kind of like that, like old school iconic way to speak, thinking like Twilight Zone or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny, man, because like this is a really cool idea.
It is.
Like it was super a really cool take on, giving it that old school vibe. But it's unfortunate that the movie just doesn't live up to having such a cool TV spot. You know what I'm saying? Like having seen the film and then watching this, I'm just kind of like, damn. I feel like if I would have saw this before, it would have got me more excited,
Yeah. I'm surprised they waited so late to put that out.
Yeah, they did. It just came out yesterday, which is weird because I feel like this is just, better like opportunities for cool marketing and things like that. They definitely need to take some points from the Saw 10 marketing team. They should have got them to start making some stuff for this. But yeah, you got anything else you want to add to this little TV spot? What'd you think about it?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, like you said, it was cool, and it would have been nicer if they had put that out a little bit earlier. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, if y'all, whether you've seen the movie or not, definitely check out that TV spot because it is cool and it's a cool throwback to, a different time where things are, film and commercials were just different, and it's just cool to see. I really did like it. But moving on, y'all, our next trailer that we got is for a holiday Christmas themed horror movie, y'all. So it's called It's a Wonderful Knife, of course, a take on It's a Wonderful Life. Now it's being directed by Tyler McIntyre. Yeah, Tyler McIntyre, written by Michael Kennedy. It's starring Justin Long, Jess McLeod, Jane Widdop, and Joe McHale. And here's the synopsis for the film, y'all. After saving her town from a psychotic killer, Winnie Carruthers' life is less than wonderful. When she wishes she'd never been born, she finds herself in a nightmare parallel universe where without her, things could be much, much worse. Now this film is coming from RLJE Films and Shudder. It's a Wonderful Knife will be released in theaters across the U.S. on November 10th, becoming available for streaming on Shudder at a later date. And it's kind of being described as Scream meets A Wonderful Life is kind of what we're seeing in the talks about this film. Now, if you remember, I feel like there was a few podcasts ago, we actually talked about this film coming out. So this is the first time we're getting an actual trailer look at it, and I think it looks great. It looks like a fun movie. Of course, it's always cool to get a horror themed Christmas movie to add to the list, because we need more of those, y'all. So it's cool to get another one. Of course, Justin Long, like, it's cool to see him in there, and man, he's in a lot of stuff
now.
I was
I'm
like,
so excited for him.
It's so cool that he's in so many horror movies lately, because of course he's got a good history with doing indie horrors. You think about stuff like Jeepers Creepers and Tusk and things. So it's cool that he's getting back into that groove. We saw him in Barbarian last year. I think he was in some other stuff too, and now he's in 2 more movies that's coming out within the next couple months. So it's cool to see him. And I like the concept. I like the idea of playing with time and the whole parallel dimension stuff. That stuff's cool. And it also just looks like a kind of like a gruesome movie. And using the Scream formula, I think will be a lot of fun. Bringing it to the modern day and then tying in the Christmas themes I think it's gonna be dope. What you think about the trailer when you saw it, man?
Oh yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Yep.
One of my favorite holiday horror movies is Krampus, and it kind of made me think about that because of the whole Making a Wish and things changing because of that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And holiday slasher. I really love the trailer, hearing the holiday music, and then you got the holiday lights and the snow, and everything you love about Christmas and winter. And then Justin Long, I was like, oh, look at him, he's back out here.
Everything, man.
Yep. But so it looks like it's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. This is a super exciting one. Again, y'all, that's coming to theaters on November 10th. So we got just shy of a month away. And then it's going to come to Shudder at a later date, which I think is cool. I think for something like of this caliber, I think it'll do pretty good in the theater. So definitely exciting. Moving on to our next trailer. This is actually for a Hulu. Is it a docu-series or a documentary film?
I think it's like a docu-series.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's a docu-series, y'all, and it's called Monster Inside. And it's actually a docu-series deep dive into one of America's most extreme destinations of horror, the McCamey Manor. Now, this is actually going to be, I think, a super, super interesting watch, y'all. First of all, the trailer, I think, was great. I mean, I feel like a lot of times, most documentary trailers are good because, it's just telling you what it's going to be about. Like, you're about to explore the history and story of, whatever it's focused on. So I feel like most of the time the trailers are always good. But I do like the format. Of course, we're getting actual interviews from people who went through McCamey Manor. We're getting background about the history and the person who created it. And I have always heard, very negative things about that place, and to do a docuseries on it, I think was a very great idea, because one, it gets the message out in a way that people can consume it, because people love documentaries and docuseries nowadays, especially with streaming services. So this is a good way to get the message out for people to avoid, going there. And I'm just curious to hear more stories. I've already heard, things over the years in this format. I'm very interested to see and hear what these people went through, which from what I understand is some pretty terrible stuff, regardless of whether they signed waivers or whatever. So, so when you saw this trailer, and you found out they were making this, what'd you think? And then did you already know about some of the negative things involved with McCamey Manor?
Yeah, I did. I don't know how. Must have been something I watched on YouTube, or
probably me.
Yeah, probably so. But yeah, because I remember either watching something or I don't know. Either way, I did know about it. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, as a matter of fact, when I pulled it up, I sent the link to you. So I was like, look at this. But I'm glad they're doing a documentary about this, because, it's still in operation now. And I just don't understand how this man has not been shut down. I don't get it.
Right.
It's insane. But when I did watch this, I went down a rabbit hole.
Oh, you did?
What I did. And a lot there's been like people who have like tried to like get inside, and because there's no like footage outside of his own footage of what
Right. Yeah.
happens inside of the thing.
Yeah.
And so people have been trying to like get inside and like videotape or record what's happened to them.
Oh, right. Yeah.
To expose what's actually happening, but no one's ever been able to. There's this one guy who somehow or another, I don't know how he got this footage, but they were recording him. Somehow or another, he got the footage that they recorded of him.
Yeah.
And they knew he had a YouTube channel. So they were doing all this weird stuff to him, but they never actually let him inside. They did all this other stuff. He's like, if you want to get in, you got to do this. So they had him doing all this like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
And he was doing it because he thought he was going to be able to get inside.
Yep.
But because he knew he was doing YouTube videos and he does expose stuff, this particular
he wasn't going to let him in, no way.
He wasn't going to let him in, yeah.
Yep.
Because he already knew what he was going to do. And he showed like the waiver that he sends and stuff like that. And the non-disclosure agreement and how you have to pay like so many thousands of dollars if you violate it. And the guy sent back the NDA, but he changed the amount of money to like $1 or something like that. It's like he probably is not gonna read this, and he didn't. He just signed it. And so he put all this stuff out online because he was like, I'll give you $1 right now. It was like, because that's what you signed. Like it was for $1. It was crazy. Anyways, I ended up watching all these different videos about it. Yep. But it did actually start out as a haunted attraction, like a regular haunted house.
Right.
And some along the way, this guy got involved and he took it way, way, way left. Yep. So long story short, I do look forward to watching this documentary and seeing more about what these people experience, because it's been so ironclad and you've never been, before been able to know what happened to these people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do look forward to actually watching this one.
Yeah, I know 100%. And I think I know which YouTuber you're talking about. So I feel like I saw a YouTube short about it once. I never got any further details. I was not familiar with the whole $1 NDA thing. That's actually really funny. But yeah. So this docuseries is coming next week on October 12th. So make sure you be on the lookout for that, coming on Hulu. All right. So moving on to our next trailer. It's the official trailer for Thanksgiving. Of course, we had got the teaser trailer not too long ago for this. So now we're getting a full trailer for Thanksgiving. Of course, this is the new film that's being directed by Eli Roth. The screenplay is by Jeff Rindle. It's starring Patrick Dempsey, Addison Rae, Milo Manheim, Jalen Thomas Brooks, Nell Burlack, Rick Hoffman, and Gina Gershon. And the synopsis for Thanksgiving reads, after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the holiday. Picking off residents one by one, what begins as random revenge killings are soon revealed to be part of a larger, sinister holiday plan. And of course, it's coming to theaters on November 17th. And it was cool. I actually really liked this full trailer because we got a lot of, we just got more context on like the lore of this film, if you will. Because I didn't even know about, I don't even think it was mentioned in the teaser trailer, like anything about this like Black Friday riot. And we got to look at like basically the cast of characters that are probably going to be getting picked off, and kind of made me think about, like I Know What You Did Last Summer or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Exactly. Or it's like this, it's a crew of people who probably did something fucked up and now they're going to get picked off one by one. But I thought it was cool. I like the part where like they're looking at the social media posts and he had that table laid out with all their names. I'm sure he's probably putting like their head or a piece of them on the plates as he's killing them, which I think would be really funny.
That would be funny.
But yeah, I thought this looked really good. It looks real brutal. Like the kind of like the violent actions that he's doing. Like even when he like attacked that lady in the kitchen, like it was real aggressive. Like it felt real visceral. I was like, damn, like I feel like he really like pushed her, like, actual stunt people over there fighting. But yeah, no, I thought this looked great. What'd you think about the trailer when you saw it, babe?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the first trailer anyway, but seeing them more of the story, like the fact that he had this lady laid out on the table with these vegetables and Like the
Mm-hmm.
timer, like he about to really cook her up. Like that was so crazy. And then I was just thinking like, oh, this looks like it's gonna be like prime Eli Roth. Like
Oh,
he can
100%.
go really far with this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he does. I would love to see him really, push the boundaries in this one.
Yep.
And I can see, like you were saying, it could be like really, really brutal.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is exciting. And what else was I going to say? Oh, just it being another holiday film. One,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
Thanksgiving horror film, which I don't even think
Right. I've
any
never seen a
exists,
Thanksgiving
or
horror
like
film.
very few. It's very rare. So it's cool just to get like something else that's like holiday themed. Because honestly, like even though it's Thanksgiving, like we're gonna add this to the Christmas watch list too. But yeah, I thought I thought the trailer looked great. Thanksgiving again coming to theaters on November 17th. So be on the lookout for that, because these holiday horror movies is coming, y'all. So with that, that'll conclude our trailers portion of the podcast. Now we're going to jump into all the good horror news that dropped this week, y'all. And so starting off with our first news story, Terrifier 2 returns to theaters, and we will get a teaser of Terrifier 3 exclusively in theaters. Now, Terrifier 2, the re-release is going to be in theaters starting on November 1st. The movie will feature a special introduction from creator Damien Leone, along with a never-before-seen Terrifier 3 teaser, both exclusive to theaters. In addition, opening night, the first 100 fans at each theater will receive an exclusive Terrifier 3 poster. So hey,
get
look,
there
y'all,
early.
get your tickets now and get there eurly as hell, because people are going to be playing no games when it comes to exclusive merch. People don't play around with that stuff, man. Now, Terrifier 2, which was originally released last year theatrically in October, it pulled in over $11 million at the domestic box office during its original run. Now, regarding this re-release, the director took to X or Twitter, whatever the fuck, and Leon tweeted, "For those of you speculating that the Terrifier 3 teaser is just going to be some 20-second gimmick, I assure you, it's a legit teaser trailer. It's over 2 minutes long, and you're going to fucking love it." Exclusively in theaters November 1st, and that's coming from the director himself over on X.
Come on, Damien.
Twitter. Yes. Yeah, no, this is super exciting, y'all. Like, I mean, I think is just from a sheer marketing perspective, I think is genius, because people love exclusive stuff. You're gonna get exclusive posters. You're one of the first 100 people, right? And then on top of that, I love that studios are doing this now, is where they're locking trailers to theaters. Like, you got to go see a movie to watch a trailer. It reminds me back to we was kids, baby, where the only way we was watching trailers is when we went to the theater, and we're like, oh, that movie looks really good. And we just saw it recently with The Exorcist Believer, when we saw I think it was Exorcist Believer, right? Where we saw the Silent Night trailer. And I think at the time, at that Thursday night release of Believer, Silent Night, the trailer wasn't out on YouTube, I don't think yet. So we're seeing a little bit more. Of course, they're not letting time pass too much before they drop it on YouTube or other social media sites. But I like the concept of something being exclusive to theaters. You got to go to the cinema to see these trailers. I'm also glad that he confirmed that it's not like a short teaser, because I did have that concern. I was like, is it going to be some quick thing where like like, oh, guess what? It's, Art the Clown is back, y'all. Like, but no, this seems like it's gonna be a full trailer. Like, I'm sure it's gonna feature some story stuff. It's just exciting. I think he also put out not too long ago too, right, babe, that there was like an extra. I think it might. I don't know if or correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if but is it outside of the trailer there's going to be an additional scenes in Terrifier 2 or in the credits or something like that?
I don't know if you told me that or if I actually saw that somewhere or not.
I remember you sent it to me. You sent it to me one day.
Oh, I sent it to you then.
Yeah, you sent it to me like in a text. Yeah, where you said something about like they're going to be like there's like an additional amount of time to Terrifier 2.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it specifically said. But I can find it if you give me some time. You want to keep talking.
Okay, yeah. Well, while you're looking that up, I do recall there being something like that where they're adding either it was like 20 extra minutes in the film or after the credits, or It was something along those lines because, and I feel like it was outside of it being the Terrifier 3 trailer. But that would make sense for like a re-release, right? Then he went back and added more content to the actual film of Terrifier 2.
I don't see it on there, but
you don't see it.
I don't.
That's okay. It's no big deal. Either way, I think it's still gonna be worth going for the poster and the Terrifier 3 trailer, honestly. But yeah, I know I'm super excited about it, babe. What'd you think about when you heard, the news, one, about the re-release and the poster, and two, that Terrifier 3 trailer is going to be an actual full trailer?
Well, I think it's genius what they're doing, right? First of all. Because I feel like the fan base of Terrifier grew a lot more, since it's been in theater, since the first release of it. So I think, first of all, that's really genius for them to re-release it in theaters. But yeah, I mean, I like that you have to go to theater as well, like you were saying earlier, to be able to see the teaser of Terrifier 3. I like going to the movies, so I'm going to use the excuse to get there to go see it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it, ultimately. I didn't really like Terrifier 1, but I did. Terrifier 2 brought me over to the art side.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm just double checking what you sent while you was talking about.
Okay.
And it looks like maybe it is the trailer that's the addition to the film.
Oh, okay.
Because it looks like the runtime for the regular Terrifier 2 release was 138 minutes. Which would be like what? 2 hours and 18 minutes, right? And the re-release runtime is 2 hours and 21 minutes. So about what, 3 minutes? Yeah. So it looks like so just to correct what I said earlier, y'all, to be clear, it looks like the only addition to the re-release could be the teaser or the official trailer for Terrifier 3. By the way, definitely, worth checking out. Is there anything else you want to add to this story, Ben?
Nope. That's it.
All right, y'all. So we'll move on to our next news story. Now, The Strangers returned in a trilogy in 2024, and they just released the first images, y'all. Now, The Strangers Chapter 1 stars Madeleine Petch as a young woman named Maya starting a new life with fiancé Ryan, played by Froy Gutierrez. During a road trip stop at a remote vacation rental in the woods, they become the prey of a mysterious gang of masked strangers who attack without warning or reason. Now, this story is coming from the EW, and according to the article, the director, Rennie Harlin, who's known for Deep Blue Sea and Cliffhanger, knows he has big shoes to fill as the original movie is done so well and casted very well. Harlan also decided to use the same mask. We felt it was central to the movie that the masks are the same, says Harlan. The masks and the strangers are not like the bat suit or something that evolves over years. To us, the strangers are the strangers, and I, as an audience member, wanted to see them just the way they were in the original film. The Stranger trilogy is set for release in theaters next year. Harlan and producer Solomon will be participating in a panel about the three films at New York Comic Con on October 12th next week. So this is cool, y'all. I we've been hearing, rumors and different things that, a new Stranger trilogy was coming. We've talked about it, I think, quite a few times over the last few months on this podcast. So we finally got images, and yes, the masks are the same. That's one of the first things I noticed when I opened up the article. When you sent it to me, babe, I was like, wait a second, ain't that the same mask that they're wearing on? And sure enough, it is the same mask. So I thought that was an interesting choice. I don't know. I get he was saying about paying respect to it, but I think at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's kind of a cheap way to take too, because you're like, well, I don't want to invent new masks. Let's just use the same ones. But I also get the.
I was wondering, are they the same strangers?
You think they'll play one time?
Because then some of them die.
I can't remember. It's been a long time.
I can't remember it. I know it's been a long time. Yeah,
but I think
it could have been like an earlier. It could be like an earlier thing or whatever. But I was just more so thinking, like that maybe they wanted to use the same mask because I guess based on the same group of people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I thought they were taking like the full reboot approach, but I guess they could do a play on time or something like that.
Well, oh yeah, that's true too. Because
Yeah,
it is a reboot, right?
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think
so it's like
he did say it is.
a
Yeah.
fresh
Okay.
remake take at this thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, and I mean, like I said, I get the point of like, well, the masks are, iconic and, identifiable as the strangers. So if people saw a trailer for this, they would immediately know like, oh, that's the strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like I got to see a trailer. I got to see more before I could really make up my mind on this because I don't really know how to feel about a whole trilogy coming for the strangers. I don't even know how they're going to like stretch that out. I have no clue. I'm looking forward to this panel. It's coming next week. But what were your
Yeah, I
thoughts
want
when
to check
you?
that out too.
Yeah, what
Well,
were
the
your thoughts on
images
the
look
story?
good. I thought the
Yeah,
images look good. Um, and if if you're interested, the checking out that article, I will go check it out because the interview with Harlan goes into a little bit more details about how he chose the cast for the movie and all of this stuff, which I think is kind of important because like The Strangers is a good ass movie.
yeah,
And I mean, the acting is just like top tier. And the atmosphere of that movie is just like on point. Like everything was good on that movie. Like the colors, the set design, like everything about that movie is like really, really good.
yep.
And so he talks about trying to, honor that, I guess. But then I think about David Gordon Green saying the same thing about The Exorcist. So I
Yep.
don't know. I'm not sure how to feel. But yeah, I forgot that it is a reboot. So maybe you gotta kind of like disassociate the two. And because of that, maybe he should have used different masks.
Yeah. But to being like a remake, because people get the wrong idea watching the trailer, be like, "Oh, this must be a continuation or something like that." But I think you're right. I think one of them did die or something like that. So it's definitely going to be a remake. But we'll find out more details, y'all, on October 12th on this trilogy. Maybe they'll dive into how a trilogy is going to work for the strangers. I really don't know, but we'll find out more next week at New York Comic Con. Now, moving on to our next story, y'all. We got some box office news for you, starting off with The Exorcist Believer. So, for the Thursday night preview in the United States, it made $2.85 million. I think they said that with that Thursday night opening, they're on track to do maybe around 20 to 30 million. Yeah, 30 million dollars. And just to kind of give you some additional perspective on this, right? So let's say in the conclusion of the weekend, they do 30 mil, right? Now the budget for this was around $30 million for the production costs for Exorcist Believer. But Universal spent a whopping $400 million, y'all, acquiring the rights to The Exorcist. So we're talking
I
about
wonder if knowing that they had spent all that money getting the rights is why they decided to make this a trilogy.
Oh, they try to get as much as they can. Yeah. Hey, it's not looking good. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We'll get into the internet's reaction to The Exorcist Believer right after this story, but I think it's not looking good in terms of getting their money back. I'm gonna tell you that. Now, continuing with more box office news, we got Saw 10, which is sitting at a total of $24.4 million domestically. Worldwide is sitting at $35.7 million. Haunting in Venice is sitting at $32.9 million domestically and $91.4 million worldwide. And The Nun 2, y'all, sitting at $78.5 million domestically and $234.3 million worldwide. So Nun 2 is definitely doing pretty decent for itself. Now, that concludes kind of the box office report from last weekend for y'all. That kind of tallies up where all the different horror movies are sitting domestically and globally. Now what I want to do is dive into the internet's reaction to The Exorcist Believer. So we got an article from Dread Central where they basically compiled a bunch of tweets of people reacting to The Exorcist Believer. So I want to go through and read some of these tweets, and we can kind of talk about it as we go. So the first tweet here coming from Did you want me to read the handles or just read through the tweets?
You can read the handles. I think you should.
So this first tweet's coming from @kin_GV. Seeing Exorcist Believer today, but I'm dead ass not even looking forward to it anymore. This is in response to, reviews and all stuff coming out. Yeah. We got another tweet from @ClownShowsWorld. #Exorcist Believer. Not worth the hype. Another tweet from Joe Lipset. Fave part of The Exorcist Believer was when it ended and someone in the crowd immediately booed. From Kit Stone. Well, The Exorcist Believer was okay. I don't know how we forgot the rules of an exorcism, yet here we are. The film front-loaded a lot of story, which set the bar high for the remainder of the film, but never quite got there. Still, there are moments to enjoy. And then there was a GIF reaction here. There was a GIF reaction from a Tyler Dilbeck where he said, "Me seeing The Exorcist Believer's 23% tomato score and still buying a ticket for the night." And I'm not sure what show this is. You know what show that's from?
I don't know.
But it's from a girl who's saying, "What I love garbage," and it has a garbage truck. I'm not familiar with the show, but it fits the theme of the tweet perfectly.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
We got another tweet from Sarah Musnicki. It brings me no pleasure to say that we had a stronger story in the Halloween Horror Nights maze than we did in the Exorcist Believer film. You can see the tendrils of story that could have led somewhere, but nostalgic paths distract from what could have been. And I'll read like two more. Coming from Adriano Caparuso. I'm willing to bet top dollar that David Gordon Green has never seen The Exorcist. The Exorcist Believer is a bastardized version of what the original was, with a poor structure, mind-boggling editing choices, cheap scares, and a waste of Ellen Bernstein's time. Avoid at all costs. That is crazy.
He said he ain't never seen it.
He said he ain't never seen the movie. And here's the last tweet I'll read coming from Dre, handle @Evil Dead Dre. The Exorcist Believer was ass. Despite my negative thoughts towards Halloween Ends, I set aside biased opinions. I gave it a fair shot. I really did. But Jesus, my predictions were right. A Blumhouse and David Gordon Green collab is a match made in hell. No pun intended.
Dang.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So, real quick for our listeners, with that same tweet I just read, they had the they had the GIF of a Ratatouille in the movie when he's about to throw up and his cheeks blew up.
Yeah.
That junk is hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, y'all, this movie's rough. This movie's very rough. In fact, let me see, at the time of this recording, we're recording this podcast on Friday night, October 6th. And I'm curious of where the Rotten Tomatoes is sitting at right now. So let me bring it up. So right now, it's sitting at 22% for critic score and 55% for audience score. Now, the audience score only has 100 plus verified ratings. So I'm sure we'll see that fluctuate. But that critic score has steadily been going down for the last few days, about 1% a day.
I was about to say, it went down.
So 22% right now and probably descending. But with that, y'all, that is a great segue into our main topic for today, which is the spoiler review of The Exorcist Believer. So stay tuned for that. All right, y'all, let's jump into our main topic, man. It's about to be a good one, y'all. It's going to be a great discussion because it's all about the tragedy of The Exorcist Believer. So, we just read through all those tweets where people were just, tearing this thing apart. I just went over the Rotten Tomatoes score, sitting at 22% critic, 55% audience. And it's looking all bad. If you are subscribed to us on our YouTube channel and also following us on TikTok, you would have seen our non-spoiler review and non-spoiler reactions. So you might have already got a taste of what we think so far, but it's going to be dope to be able to sit down and go over the spoilery details of The Exorcist Believer and give our thoughts. So the way we like to do our spoiler reviews, y'all, is of course we give you just some quick, details about the film, writer, director, and so on. And then we'll jump into kind of a walkthrough of the story. And so what we're going to do is kind of walk through the different go beat by beat through the story, and then as we're going along through that, talk about things that we might have liked, things we might have disliked, things that could have done differently, and then at the end of it, we'll of course conclude, summarize, and give our rating. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the details for The Exorcist Believer. Of course, it's being directed by David Gordon Green, who also helped write it along with Scott Teems and Peter Sadler. And now we'll jump into the synopsis. We'll skip the synopsis. I think I read it. Did I read it earlier in this podcast? I didn't?
No, but I feel like everybody knows what it's about.
Yeah, everyone knows. It's a spoiler review anyway. If you're listening, you already know what it is. And just as a reminder, y'all, it is a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen it yet, you don't want to be spoiled, hey, look, it's going to be of your own choice, right? You've seen the reviews and stuff. You can choose to go watch it and then come back, listen to our review, or you can just, hang with us and see what we think about it. But with that, that's your spoiler warning. And we'll go through our walkthrough of The Exorcist Believer. So the movie opens in Haiti. Victor seems to be a photographer, and his wife, who is pregnant, meets these kids who take her to a woman that gives her baby a protection blessing. Back at home, she's laying down when an earthquake happens that causes her to get stuck under some rubble, and that leads to the doctors telling Victor he has to choose. So, of course, he has to choose between his wife or his daughter. And then we flash forward to the present day, and we get a glimpse of the relationship between...
babe.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If that happened to me, I hope... It was not a question. I'm telling you right now. You better choose me.
Well... Now I know.
I was just like, I don't know what I would say in that situation if I was actually in that situation.
I mean, she looked pretty far along, so I think it's one of those points where it's like, man, like, the baby about to be born. Yeah. You want the baby to have a life, so
right.
I don't know. It's definitely a dilemma.
Know. It's a tough one for sure.
And look, I was sitting in the theater and I'm wondering, like, well, what happened? Like, why does he have to choose between one or the other? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, what could have happened? Because she's laying. They obviously got her out of the rubble, and she's laying. And
maybe she had some internal injuries. Because it looked like she was under some stuff,
Yeah,
some heavy stuff. So maybe she had some internal stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it didn't seem like I don't know. But it was an opening sequence, and it was pretty quick. That little part. So it feels like the doctor just walked up. He didn't even give her an examination or nothing, unless they just didn't show the examination.
Yeah,
he was
I'm
just
sure they
sitting
just
there
didn't
next
show
to the
it.
bed, and they had walked up, and he was like, "Look, you're gonna have to make a choice."
Yeah, we see that a lot with this film, throughout the film, where we don't get to see things that happen. We just get told.
Yeah,
its conclusion, so to speak.
Yeah.
I speaking of the opening sequence, I did like the opening sequence. I think it was cool to see, some of the Haitian cultural aspects.
Yeah, I did like
especially that protection blessing, things like that. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was a great way to open the film. I did.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would have. If you think back to the OG Exorcist, I'm pretty sure in the beginning he did see that Pazuzu statue, right? I'm pretty sure that's in the beginning of the film, right?
Of this movie?
No, I'm talking about the OG Exorcist.
Oh, I was about to say, I must have fell asleep. Yes, he did.
Yeah. So, I honestly really thought that they were going to do something like that with this, where he's taking photos or something would happen where it can connect, since this movie has that connection element to it.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to see something like that. So that's the only thing I think that really disappointed me with this opening sequence, was we didn't get kind of that aspect of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, moving on. So we flash forward to the present day, and we get a glimpse of the relationship between Victor and Angela. Angela gets dropped off at school, and she asks one of her friends to cover for her and Catherine so they can go into the woods and do a ritual where she can talk to her mom. Victor comes home after work and realizes Angela isn't home, so he tries calling her, and then calls Catherine's mom, and they get the information from the school friend. I forgot.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah, it was like Deshauna,
or something
I think.
like that. Yeah.
Friend that they had went into the woods.
I was like, I feel like these girls weren't old enough to be doing stuff like this.
Yeah,
but that was just me. I don't know. I was like, because I think they were supposed to be 12, I think, according to the synopsis, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, that seemed like something 12-year-old would do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, man, these kids growing up
That's
so
true.
fast
That's
that
true.
shit. Maybe they will do something like this, but but it was awkward, or it was kind of weird. Because then another thing that got me thinking, especially when you watch the rest of the movie, was like where did Catherine even get this idea to do this? Because
was it Catherine's idea? I thought it was Angela's idea.
Oh, really? I thought it was Catherine's for some reason. I thought Catherine was the one explaining how to do it.
She wanted. Well, now I'm confused because I thought she was wanting Catherine to hear what she hears, the voice, right? Isn't that what she explained?
Oh, was that what?
Or maybe I thought I was wrong then. I don't know, but that's what I thought was. Well,
okay.
I thought was happening. It's that she wanted her to hear the voice.
Okay. Yeah, I might be getting mixed up then. By the way, they shouldn't have been playing with
no, they shouldn't have.
Magic.
I don't know why kids always keep playing with stuff they don't have no business playing with.
No business playing with that stuff at all.
Yeah.
I did like the.
It's funny. Oh, we haven't got there yet. Never mind. Go ahead. Okay. No, we haven't got to that part yet.
Okay. I was gonna say I did like Victor and Andrew's relationship. Like it looked super like genuine and authentic. I thought that read pretty good on screen. I did like that element. I wish we got a little bit more of that, because then I feel like the impact of her going missing and then being possessed would have been, more major, I guess.
Yeah.
Like would have felt like a deeper connection to it. You know what I'm saying? And been like, dang, like I might hate this happened.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else before I move on?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So moving on. All three parents go into the woods after they call the police, and Victor finds his wife's necklace and a pair of the girl's shoes, and the other parents find Catherine's backpack but no kids. At the police station, there's a heated discussion.
This is one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, yeah, this was hilarious. I thought this was so funny. Like how Victor was like, hey, look, I'm connected with my daughter. I don't know what your daughter got going on, but it had to be her idea. Ain't no way it was my daughter's idea. It had to be your daughter's idea. It's like, what you trying to say?
And she was like, oh, we don't even know who you are. Like,
right.
It's like, she was like, there's no reason why my daughter should have been with your daughter in the first place.
Yep. And she was like,
I wouldn't know who you are.
Yep. And she was like, yeah, if they were friends, I would have already met you by now.
Yeah. This was good. Yep. I thought this was like a genuine reaction to how parents emotions flare in stressful situation like this, how they would probably react.
Yeah.
And Leslie, Victor, he was going hard. Like,
yeah, he was. He
I just really
hard.
love this scene.
Yeah.
I just really love that a lot.
I thought they were about to drop the N-word in a second. That's how the vibe was getting a little bit. They about to drop something.
I thought they was going to go there for a second, like with, the differences, but they didn't. I was
like,
kind of hoping that they were, though.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I thought that's where they was going to take it. But it might would have been too difficult for them to come back together when they needed to if they was acting like that.
Yeah, 100%. But no, that was a great scene.
Yeah, it was.
So Victor hits the ground. Oh, Victor's like hitting the ground and ends up at a homeless shelter where there's a vulgar interaction.
What'd you think about that?
He should have just stole off on him, is what I think.
I thought that's what he was going to do.
Yep.
He just flipped the table.
Yeah, he just flipped the table.
I think he would have went
to jail.
The homeless man was kind of like indicating when girls go missing, they might be looking for like, a mom or whatever, someone to fill that void that they might be missing at home. And what they actually find is somebody wanting a little more. Yep. And then he made like a gesture.
I think he was also implying to like, kids go into the woods to do that type of stuff, to have sex and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And then he flipped the table.
Yep. I was like, oh man, I hope he just starts stealing off on him. But he didn't.
But he was like, no, not my daughter. My daughter wouldn't do stuff like that.
Yep.
That's all he kept saying in the beginning part. But
Man, I knew this was going to kind of go that route with the type of homeless people that they were interacting with. Mm-hmm. I had a feeling it was going to go that route, but he should have just stole off on him. I would have.
Yeah.
Now continuing.
But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But this is one of those things that I mentioned in the spoiler-free review where I feel like they were like toeing the line with their boundary, but not actually like going all the way with it. So this is like one of those instances where they kind of like, we're kind of close to the line.
Right. Yeah.
But not going all the way over it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree 100% because they definitely could have took it.
Yeah. Yep. I was thinking, actually, no, we haven't got to that part yet. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So continuing, he comes home. Victor comes home to find his front door open, and he finds his boxing coach in Angela's room with a group of women and a priestess doing a blessing. And he tells him to get the fuck out.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Because the coach, he was still talking to him, and he was just like, get the fuck out.
Yep. He was still trying to explain. He's like, oh, this is a good thing. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the hell are you doing in this house? Like, what are you doing?
That was so weird, right?
It's so random.
Like, why? Not only that, but he's doing stuff in his house. He got his door open. You didn't tell this man you was coming over his house. Like, it was just super weird.
Super weird, man. That makes no sense. Yeah. So the boxing coach Victor tells him to leave, and his coach tries to tell him about his own experience when he thought his sister would die, and how sometimes you have to look outside your beliefs for help. Then we go to a farm where the farmer's son finds the girls in their barn. They go to the hospital, and after seeing that they are physically okay, they send them home. And going back real quick to the coach being in the house with the healers and stuff like that. Like, it would have been, this is kind of another problem I have with the movie is like, they don't ever be providing like context or build up. Like, so from this to show up at home and this dude's randomly and the box coach randomly in his house with this healer, like we got no context to that whatsoever. Like, that's so just, it felt random. It didn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was a shoot in scene.
Also, I thought the way that the girls were found was kind of boring. Like, that he was opening the barn and seeing them in there. Like, I don't know. I think it would have been cool to have seen something more like ritualistic in a way or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the discovery just being way more interesting than just, we woke up.
I thought they were going to go, because it was a barn and there was like the scene prior to him walking into the barn, one of his their horses were sick. So I thought like there were going to be like other animals in the barn that would be like, like mutilated or something.
Oh, right. Yep. And they'd be covered in blood or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just in there looking normal.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of weird. The hospital, like checkup scenes, I thought those were pretty like, they made this kind of like horrifying in a way because there's just a lot going on. You know, I know Angela was like, she was crying and stuff like that. So they made it a very like emotionally heavy experience. You could really get that sense of like, oh, they just want to go home, but they got to make sure everything's good. So I thought that portion of the scenes was executed pretty good.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, they get sent home, and then Victor, while at home, Victor asks Angela what happened, and she explains the ritual and the voice that she was hearing. Now, something that was interesting with that scene right there is when she was talking to him, we got that like flash of like a ghost or something behind him. Remember that?
Oh, you weren't with me the week we talked about that on the podcast. That was one of the clips they actually released. So I had already seen that scene.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it looked like a ghost version of herself or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was kind of weird. You're talking about we.
We as in the podcast. A podcast.
It was just you on the podcast.
Well, it was me on the podcast, but I had listeners. We've already discussed it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, okay, yeah. So I hadn't seen that scene before, but I just thought it was weird that we saw that kind of ghost type of thing once. I don't think we ever really saw it again, like in the context of it being in the same room type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of weird. And I feel like it was one of those things where it's like it was trying to add a scare, but that had no real story purpose. So I thought that was dumb.
True. I can see that. Yeah. It does. It doesn't really have any story connection. Yeah. It's just like we need to put something here. Yeah.
Now,
if they had maybe did her like maybe they had did like a creepy version of her mom or something, that would have been cool.
Which is what I thought. They were going to do something like that. Considering that that's who she was trying to contact. Do like a talk to me kind of fake out type thing.
Oh,
I thought
right.
it might
Oh,
go in
yeah.
that direction. Yeah.
No.
Now, after that portion, we jump to, Catherine's house, and we see a random scene with Catherine asking, to sleep with her parents. Of course, her mom was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then we go back to Angela's house, and we get the kind of the bathroom light sequence with Victor and Angela that we saw in the trailers. And real quick, I did want to mention, because I know in the trailers, like, that part came off real dumb, real cheesy, where she was like, "Did you say something?"
Did you say
You know
something?
what I'm saying? No, I didn't say anything. Oh, I thought you said something. In the context of the movie, it read a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
It read way better, because in the trailers, the way they cut it was awful. Now, the next morning, he runs her a bath. Victor runs Angela a bath because she wet the bed. And we go, and he goes into her room, and she attacks him from behind. And she's screaming, "Where is she?" And he takes her back to the hospital, where she is sedated.
She just went ham.
Yeah, do you want to speak to that at all?
Well, I thought that sequence was actually pretty good. Like, even like the detail of the bath water looking like the water under the bridge thing from where they were at doing this little ritual thing, and the fact that she wet the bed, kind of similar to Reagan peeing on herself in the original Exorcist movie. So I actually like that scene. And then I guess for me too, I was just like, he's seeing stuff. Like, he sees her walk back, and then the door close behind her without her touching the door. And, he still just, for some reason, couldn't fathom that this was not her doing, being out of character, but something else was causing this to happen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Some people don't be believing their eyes, and I don't understand that.
They never do. In these horror movies, man, they never believe what they be seeing for something. They be like, it's like the most extreme level of denial ever.
But ultimately, I did like the way that panned out.
Yeah, and they made it nasty too, like, missing fingernails and stuff like that. It was really
was gross. Yeah.
Super gross. Now, the next scene, we get, Catherine and, her family in church. This is where we get the whole body and the blood sequence that plays out. Did you want to add or say anything about the body and the blood sequence?
Yeah, so there is a part in there where I thought, again, that they were going to cross the boundary line, but they didn't. I was like, well, that would have been a great opportunity for them to actually go further with this. When she had like her hand like on her lap, like under her dress a little bit. Did you pick that up?
I didn't know what was happening right there. At first I was like, oh, are they going there with it?
That's what I thought they were going to do, but they didn't. I was like, but I feel like they should have. I was like, that would have been real.
That would have been crazy.
I mean, in the original Exorcist, Reckon was using the cross. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
they
I
could
thought
definitely took it to that level.
That's what I thought they were going to do, but no, they didn't do that. I guess they were like, I mean, I know it's 2023, you can't do everything, but I thought that they could have probably pushed it just a smidgen more. They could have went a little bit further with that.
I mean, even if they didn't do exactly that, they could have did like something else. Yeah. Something else that was like in that vein. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Because it's all about the perversion of Christianity, Christ and all that stuff. So they could have definitely did something to take it to that level without I guess like actually doing it. If you get what I'm trying to say,
right? But that whole church thing was very odd. Like her messing with the program papers and. Then the preacher, he kept talking. I was like, why is he still talking when the girl is clearly in distress? And he's still trying to continue his sermon. But I don't know. It could have been, I was thinking, well, how could this make sense? And I was like, well, maybe, it's like a way of saying how, church people or ministers, preachers, whatever, try to like, use like the word of God to cover things up, right? To make you look the other way, to distract you from what's going on or whatever, the reality or the ugliness of the world. I was like, well, that could be like a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but whatever. But I'll wait for them to get that meaning across in this particular situation, because I was like, I didn't understand why he just kept on talking.
Yeah, he did.
But and then, you know, when I originally watched the trailer, I knew they were doing communion, but I didn't think she had just covered herself in communion juice.
Yep.
I don't
So all
know.
she did was just spill everything. That's it.
Let's spill everything all
Yeah.
over, right? She just trashed the communion stuff.
That's it.
But yeah, that was a very interesting scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think
also, side
go ahead.
note, I just wanted to also say, like, prior to, other than this scene, I think this is in this scene, and when later on when they're talking outside, and the Exorcist, that's all we see of these parents. Like, really, like, that's it, really. Like, we don't get any kind of like,
Oh, like interactions with the family and stuff like
interaction
that.
with the family themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, we got these they got siblings. She got, you know, 2 siblings. Those are the only time I feel like we saw those kids, except when they was praying. Like, we don't really know nothing about this family at all.
Not at all. Yep.
Just,
It's almost
all I
all
could tell you is
exclusively focused on Victor and Angela. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally focused mainly on Victor and Angela for most of the time. There's no like context or family time or anything really shown with Catherine's family at all. So super weird. But yeah, I agree. This scene definitely was played out just as cheesy as it looked in the trailer. They could have done something way more creative, way more interesting, way more, I don't know, just way more uncomfortable, or way more like something that really is starting to indicate that she's really, you know, getting possessed.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all, moving on. So after we get the body and the blood sequence, it cuts to Catherine's family at the same doctor office as Angela and Victor. And Victor's talking to Catherine's mom. And Catherine's mom starts to talk about how demonic possession works, and she was wishing that Catherine got baptized like a week ago, but she didn't. And then you know, Catherine's mom kind of implies that she thinks they went to hell, looking at their feet and things like that. He referenced the story of Jesus. And then of course Victor, who, you know, doesn't believe in anything, is like, oh, y'all are just crazy as hell. And one thing we wanted to mention, because she says that she wishes that Catherine got baptized a week ago. If you go back and look at the second trailer that released for The Exorcist Believer, you'll see there's a scene in that trailer of Catherine getting baptized. So I thought it was super weird that portion got cut of the movie, and then we got a line about her not getting baptized. Super weird. There's a couple scenes I think in that trailer, and I think that's normal to not have, you know, scenes play out the same in the movie, but to have whole story elements change to that degree is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But moving on, after that discussion at the doctor's office, we get it cuts to Angela in the bed, and she starts using that kind of possession voice that we know for The Exorcist, and she's talking to the nurse Paula, and then she starts to bleed kind of in the abdomen, groin area, and she tells Paula Paula's story about how she was going to be a nun, had an abortion, and then of course that freaks Paula out. And then it cuts to Victor kind of looking around at a psychiatric ward, because he's looking at putting Angela in a mental institution, so he's checking one out, seeing all the different crazy people that's in there, or people who just got psychological issues. And then on the next scene, we get Paula talking to Victor, giving him the book, of course, that Chris McNeil wrote, and she was saying she read that book in college. And Victor goes on and starts talking about how religion is a myth, and explains why he doesn't believe. And then she explained her background, and this is when she tells Victor what Angela said to her, and how he's like, how did she know that I did this and this about being a nun, aborting the baby? I never told anybody that. So that kind of like, I guess gets Victor to start, at least to open the book and start researching Chris McNeil. And he reads in Chris McNeil's book the help me words, and then we get kind of like this kind of montage / exposition about Chris McNeil's life, kind of what she's been up to since the exorcism, how she wrote this book, and started doing things with exorcisms and spiritual like spiritual things. And so we get that little exposition, and then it cuts to Victor, where he tracked down Chris McNeil at her house, and he shows up to talk to her. Now, it never says if he scheduled an appointment. I'm under the impression that motherfucker just showed up.
It didn't seem like he did.
Yep. He showed up with a book in his hand.
Rolled up.
And she let that black man in. She was like,
she did.
Who was this nigga right here? She let him in. She poured him a drink. They sat down and had a chat.
You are tripping.
But so I thought that was just, I thought how they did that was kind of weird, but it's kind of at this point where, and let me know, I think you say you feel the same way, babe. It's at this point where I feel like the film starts to go into this really dumb breakneck speed pacing where it just kind of jumps from thing to thing to thing. No clear development, no good like progression. It's just like skipping beats really fast. We don't get to spend time with anything, and things just start happening. It's like you're getting snapshots of things that happen, and not like a story that slowly evolves these different beats.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. So, of course, we get Victor and Chris McNeil. They're talking to each other, and Chris McNeil's telling her story about how she, was searching for answers after Reagan's exorcism. She kind of even mentioned how she never actually saw the exorcism, which I thought was cool because she didn't. She wasn't in the room. She talked about that. I thought that was cool. And then she talked about how she wrote the book and how Reagan hated the fact that she wrote this book, so much so that Reagan went into hiding and she's never seen her since then. She had no idea where Reagan was at. And so after, literally right after that, Chris McNeil and Victor go to meet Angela.
She right there
at the psychiatric ward, where the priest and Father, I think Maddox and Paula are there. And, we only get like a brief scene with Paula, I think, going to talk to Father Maddox. And then, they all kind of meet up at this spot. And then boom, they're all there. And, so there's an interaction with, Chris McNeil and Angela. I think she says something like, she knows my face or something, which I thought was like a super weird line that I didn't understand. Like,
my thing with that is, was she trying to say it was the same thing? Because there's no clarity about this. Yeah. I feel like they were hinting at it.
Yeah.
But they never actually said it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
And it was like, why you can't just explain, you know what I'm saying? Or show us what's going on.
Right.
Like, is this the same demon or is this like a general thing? They never actually gave us clarity about that at all.
None at all.
I know people were assuming that it was, because even in the different conversations online and different forums prior to the movie coming out, people were naming it. It's definitely the same one.
Yeah.
But I don't even know how they got that, unless they were basing it off of the flashes in the.
I think maybe they were. Probably the flashes, because even we see the demon later in the movie, it looks nothing like from the OG Exorcist at all.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing like the Pazuzu statue.
So they
don't
like actually give us a clear indication that it's the same one or not. So I did think that was interesting. But it's like, again, it's kind of like they was like, oh, maybe it would be a good idea if it's the same one.
Right.
But they don't actually like follow through with the idea that it is or anything.
Yeah, there's no follow through with that at all. And I just thought it was weird. How did she even know that without really even interacting?
Yeah, because they show the girl Angela like carving Reagan's name into the wall, but we don't know if they actually saw that. I
don't think they do
carving. Yeah, so it's like
not
I don't know how
anymore.
how would she know that she know who she is? Yep. I don't know. That was weird.
So after their time at the psychiatric ward with Angela, all of them, well, Victor and Chris McNeil character go to Catherine's house, and it's all tore up. And this is where the family is down there just like praying, and the house is tore to pieces. And Chris meets Catherine, and so they have an interaction in Catherine's bedroom. And Catherine in like possession voice is asking like, "Oh, are you looking for Reagan?" And I feel like the way that scene kind of played out, that initial interaction between the two was pretty good. I did like that initial interaction, but then it kind of got a little weird in the way it felt, because Chris starts to pronounce the demon, And I just didn't like.
Yeah, that
It
threw
didn't
me
feel
off.
right. It didn't feel
It threw
right.
me way off because the whole conversation between her and Victor at her house was talking about how she was not an exorcist. She didn't perform exorcisms, and yet she came in there acting like she was an exorcist.
Acting like she's about to read the rites. Like she's about to read the rites.
Yeah, so I was like,
I renounce
don't
you,
get
demon.
this.
You release that girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like she was trying to go hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene itself, I felt like could have been hard. Like, it was some hard elements about it. It just didn't make sense from the previous conversation that we just heard them have.
Yep. And then
in this particular scene, we see just how trash her dad is, because he upstairs in the bathroom and his wife and kids are downstairs without him, and they praying.
He ain't no help.
Know, they leaning in and depending on Jesus, and he up there. I don't know what he doing.
He was just lost. Like, he didn't know what to do. Yeah. He just shut down completely. Trash. He shut down entirely.
Yeah. Trash.
Now, Chris also pronounced.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me say this. But, yeah. So, like, we don't know how they got to that point. Now, you mentioned the trailer, the second trailer. There were some scenes in that trailer of them trying to, like, you know, restrain her or like move her around in the house and stuff like that. That stuff was all missing from the movie. Yep. So, I mean, we don't know how it goes from the body and the blood to her in the house. She was basically just walking around chilling.
Yeah. She had free reign. She's not restrained anymore or nothing.
No.
Because we saw the restraints on the bed, but she was not locked in.
She wasn't.
Oh, no, she got out. But yeah, continuing. So Chris McNeil starts pronouncing the demon, and then Catherine jumps up and stabs Chris in the eyes with the cross. That jump was crazy. I was not expecting that. And she was going ham. I was like, wow, that's wild. Crazy. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Why couldn't they put this later on? Like, why couldn't this happen later on in the movie or something? I guess. I mean, obviously, it took her out of commission. I don't know.
Maybe Ellen Bernstein was like, look. Ellen Bernstein was like, look, you got 10 minutes. I'm going to give you 10 minutes of screen time. So you got to take me out early.
I was just about to say that. I don't know what went on behind the camera. You know, I don't know what their deal was or anything like that. But it just sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, looked like she was about to get in her element, and then they took her out. You know,
took her out. But I feel like they were trying to use that as like a measuring, you know, moment to be like, oh, this thing ain't playing no games. You know.
Yeah.
But one of the issues I have with that, though, is it's like, and we see this later too, is they'll do something crazy, but like they won't always keep that consistent energy. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, okay, if you stabbed her in the eyes, how come you didn't like fuck your family up? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So like it was very inconsistent with like how strong they were, how violent they are, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So right after that, it jumps to Father Maddox, and it shows him, you know, talking to the, you know, I'm assuming like the, you know, the higher ups within the Catholic Church of that community, trying to convince the church to sanction an exorcism for the two girls. And we see the other priests are kind of like, oh man, I don't know, they're gonna go for this, yada yada yada. And this was super out of left field too. Like I was like, where did this scene come from? That's how I felt when I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I think I answered my own question. I'm gonna assume because Paula, the nurse, her name is Paula, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was talking to him about exorcism. Yeah.
I'm gonna assume because she almost was a nun, because I feel like she was all in the mix. You know what I'm saying, with the religious part of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna assume that that's why she was, because she was gonna be a nun. But she's not an active nun, so I didn't understand that.
Yeah. Well, somehow she was convincing him to try to sanction the exorcism.
Yeah. I get her convincing him. I'm talking about for her to be sitting in the room with him amongst these other.
Oh, she was in the room too? I can't even remember that.
Yeah, they were sitting in there together. It was him and her.
Yeah, that is weird. She was definitely in the mix. We'll get into that later too. Now, it then cuts to, you know, Victor in the hospital with Chris, apologizing for bringing Chris back into all this because now she's injured. They kind of got her eyes covered, trying to heal her eyes back. And then this is when Chris McNeil gives this monologue about how the church is all about community and you got to come together. And, personally, I thought the monologue was awful. But I don't think it's because of Ellen Bernstein's acting or anything. I just think the writing for that monologue was just terrible. And it was like oddly misplaced. Like where did her, like there's nothing that cued her to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like there was nothing that cued like, oh, church is all about community. All about people coming together. Like why are you saying that?
Because
where'd that come from?
Because she was basically telling him that he can't do this alone. That's where it came from. He was like, I'm sorry I brought you into this, but she was like, it's okay because you can't do this by yourself. Like you need other people to help you. That's how I received it. I actually like this monologue.
Really? I did not like it.
Yeah.
It is, to me, it felt oddly placed. Like it'd be different if like there was a scene where maybe Catherine's parents are trying to convince Victor to have an exorcism, and he was like, man, F that. Like I'm going to go and figure something else out on my own. And then and then she has this conversation with him. But just to sheerly go off of like, oh man, I brought you in this, my bad. Like, oh no, church all about community. Because during that scene, it was showing Catherine's family's church and the pastor, stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying?
They were showing other stuff too.
Well, yeah, they're showing different cultural beliefs too.
Right.
But I don't know. Like I get the point. I get the point of the scene. I'm just saying the issue with this movie is they never have any good lead up to scenes like that, where that monologue would have felt better placed if there was a more correct build up to it. And it just wasn't. Felt super weird. Like some stuff was missing. But anyway, now we cut to probably one of the not the hardest, but definitely up there as one of the hardest scenes in the movie. And that's when Victor meets with the healer at the cemetery. I'm just going to call her the healer because I don't know what else to call her.
I was calling her a priestess because I feel like that's
like a priestess. He meets her at the cemetery, and she gives a monologue about going back to kind of his cultural roots and performing old magic, where newer things aren't working. Sometimes you got to like scale it back and do the simple things that our ancestors used to do. It was super hard. Like that whole discussion, all the stuff she was saying was super dope. I really like this scene a lot. This section.
I agree. It was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the best scenes. And that part makes sense because we had the interaction earlier. It still don't fully fit right, but it makes sense. Now after that, we get the priestess, the families, and the pastor start to prep for the exorcism, right? So we get like the priestess, she's drawing the stuff with the chalk on the floor, getting minerals and things prepped. They're moving things around the house, getting the chairs and nailed to the ground, all this type of stuff.
Right.
They're prepping for an exorcism for Angela and Catherine. Then the Father Maddox, the priest that Paula was working with, he shows up and says that he cannot do an official exorcism. And the church decided that the girls needed psychiatric help. So an exorcism was not sanctioned. So he can't help them, and decides he's just going to hang out in the car. I think during this one too is when Father Maddox did he give her like a little monologue during that part?
Yes, the nurse. He was basically encouraging her, letting her know that she could handle it. He gave her the book of rights and basically was telling her, the power of God is within you, and you have the same power that I have. Yeah, and you got, as long as you say the words and believe them and trust what's in you is gonna, pull out what's in the girls, then you can do it.
Right. Yep. So
then they had this weird forehead thing. I didn't know. I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, they doing some other stuff on the side.
Like that was really intimate. Like that's an intimate thing to do to me.
And we got no scenes of them really actively doing things together outside of like, initial conversation of like, hey, these girls needs help, and then the next, couple scenes with them in the same psychiatric ward, and then trying to convince the church, but that's it. Like we didn't get no other scenes of like building a friendship, relationship, and stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I agree. It was weird. Now then we go to the nurse telling, you know, this group of people that's all setting up for this exorcism how, you know, she was meant to do this. This is why God put her here. This is why she was, you know, this is why she wasn't made or, you know, did her oath to be a nurse.
She didn't do a nun, yeah.
Yeah. Nun, I'm sorry, do an oath to be a nun. Mm-hmm. She didn't, this is why she's their neighbor and that she can do the rites. And, you know, they just got all work together. And I'm like, I don't know, this felt weird.
Yeah, that scene was a little weird.
It just felt awkward. It felt super awkward. Mm-hmm. And so they start performing this exorcism. You know, they get IVs hooked up. They get heart monitors hooked up. And this is where the legendary line of, is that Catherine's heartbeat? They're beating in sync comes from. And I thought it was just as goofy in the movie as it was in the trailer for me. You know, so the nurse starts reading the rites, of course. And this is where we get kind of like the, you know, the kind of what we saw in like the original Exorcist of that, you know, the demons talking to the people, trying to exorcise them and fucking with them and stuff like that. Because then, you know, the girls start to talk shit about Paula and, you know, how she, you know, didn't become a nun, how she aborted her baby. And they say funny stuff like, did the power of Christ compel you? Like stuff like that. That was super funny.
That was so hilarious.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. That part, they just did that part really good. I feel like this is when the girls' acting was really good with this possession stuff.
Yeah, the girls did a really good job. Yeah, possess.
Absolutely.
Like even like when they were being like, well, portraying themselves and being like sad and emotional, like mommy, like they did.
Yeah,
really
they
I was
killed
like,
it.
This is good.
They killed that joint. Yep. And so, you know, we get a lot of just banter. We get a lot of reading of rites, a lot of praying, a lot of, you know, I banish you demons from everybody. Everybody was kind of just saying a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, I will say this was a very unique way to set up an exorcism to me. Yeah. I did like I've said before, I do think they had some really good ideas and concepts for this movie. And this one was a good one. Like being surrounded by people who care about you, not just some random priest off the street, but like people who genuinely care about you, want to save your soul. I thought that the setup of the group of people to actually exercise them, I thought was good. Mm-hmm. Why are you rolling your head? I mean, you don't agree with me?
I mean, like I said, I think the movie has good concepts, but I thought the problem for me is the scene doesn't work because we didn't put in the work to get to that point where everyone's banding together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm just talking about the actual concept.
The concept is great.
Having your parents and your pastor or your, you know, people, someone who lives down the street but been a part of your entire life to be a part of this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, surrounding you with the love and all that kind of stuff. I think that was a good concept. Yes, I agree. The execution of it was not good.
Terrible. It's terrible. So goofy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at this part too, sometimes the acting felt weird. Like when they were all yelling, doing stuff.
It was the preacher, man. I'm telling you, it was him. I was like, what is he talking about? He threw it way off. He was like,
something don't feel right now.
What is he doing?
And you know, it's like we got a group of people singing and be like, all right, what are y'all off key? You know what I'm saying? It felt like that, where it's like, okay, somebody's ruining this whole thing because it's not feeling right now. That's how I felt watching it.
It was so he reminded me of one of them. You probably don't know anything about this, but I grew up in a very religious household. So one of the things my mama used to do is go to tent revivals. And that's like something they do in the summertime where they have like a tent outside of somewhere, some town, and they would have a revival all week. But anyways, he reminded me of like a preacher that you would find at like a tent revival. Like,
that's actually funny. I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that too. Yep.
But yeah, he was just like, no.
Oh, like, right. Yeah, that's exactly how he was doing. Yep. And there'd be times
throwing it off for me.
There'd be times where like he'd be standing like this, right? Then he'd go like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like he'd get really engaged all of a sudden. It was funny as hell.
Yeah, and then also the obviously the Catherine's parents, the mom. No, I think that was probably the second half when they came back and she started praying. I don't know. It was the way she started praying that threw me away. I was just wanted to laugh. I was like, this is hilarious.
It was like super goofy, man. It was, like we said, the execution was just bad. It was so goofy.
Yeah, but the idea was good. The idea
concept's great. Execution poor. But yeah, moving on, y'all. So, we get this, the whole exorcism starts, all the exorcism stuff, reading of rites, praying, all this stuff starts happening. And then we start getting interactions with the girls, with different people in the group. And so we get Angela, because Victor always kind of remained like right in front of Angela, right? And then Angela is kind of looking at him and she's telling him like, oh, you don't even believe. I could tell,
I like that part.
Which is cool.
Like, you don't believe.
Yep. It was dope.
It was super hard.
And then I think they started to realize that, it's not working or whatever. And the priestess goes and, she was, building this whole, mineral herb vinegar mix in the bathtub. She goes and scoops some of that up. And she starts to, pour it over the girls, and it actually starts to like really like do some stuff. And they start like throwing up all this black stuff. And then I
really like this scene because, can I say white people?
Sure.
Okay. The white people were like, what are you doing? Like, what is she
very
doing?
much. It was definitely portrayed that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she had to explain that what she was doing was biblical for them to be like, yeah, that's in Ezekiel or whatever. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I thought this was good. I felt like that was like an authentic thing, right?
Very much so.
And then we kind of had a conversation about this the other day, like Christianity and Hoodoo and how they have similarities. And so she's doing something, this practice that she might have gotten from her Hoodoo grandmother, but is rooted in what's biblical. Like she was talking about how the vinegar mixture is based on the vinegar that the soldier gave to Jesus when he was on the cross.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was like, okay. Like they accepted it.
Now they can accept
right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Because it fits.
So I thought that was good.
It fits the way they think now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. It was a very well done scene. And I just hate that, we didn't get to really have the build up to lead to that, to make it even more great. But I liked the way, I liked the concept of that. Now after, she pours the vinegar and stuff and minerals on them, the girls spit out this kind of like ectoplasm looking yellow gas up into the air, and it kind of floats right above them. And then the priestess goes and like starts a fire and like, blows some stuff to the fire, and it creates this big cloud of smoke that like goes up to the yellow ectoplasm stuff and like sucks it down into the fireplace and kind of like, burns it away essentially. That was super cool. I liked that.
Was super hard.
That even looked cool. That. Like that was super hard. Now it was after this that, it almost seemed like they went to like a break period, like you know what I'm saying? Because people kind of were like off kind of doing different things. I think, Victor goes outside because I think because she tells him to go and pour out. Pour something out.
The stuff that leaked down in the bowls.
Yep.
When she was pouring that stuff on him. Yeah. Yep. So the stuff that was left over.
She's like, you got to go pour this outside. So he pours it out, and he sees the Father Maddox still in the car outside of the house praying, and he goes and taps on the glass. He's like, the fight's in there. And I thought that was I think we both agree it was pretty hard.
Line. Yeah, I love that line. I was like, he calling him out.
Yeah.
It was like you praying out here, they ain't gonna do nothing.
You
got to come on the inside.
Ain't gonna do nothing. Yep.
Sucks that he did though.
Yeah, he should have stayed his ass outside. But anyway, Angela told Victor ends up back in front of Angela, and Angela tells Victor how this is the demon talking, how she knows that Victor didn't want to save her, instead wanted to save the wife and kill the baby. And this really shocked Victor. It was like this was like Victor's like awakening moment where he's like, oh shit.
Right.
Like how the hell real. Do you even know that? Like this shit is real. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
and then she tells him like he's got another choice with this again, or one girl lives, one girl dies. He has to choose who survives and who dies.
I did not like that. I didn't like
Yeah,
that.
that was
at
dumb.
all.
It didn't make any sense at all.
No.
No.
I was like, what is the
point?
The point? Yes.
What's the point? There ain't no
I didn't
point
get
to
that
that
at all. There's
Yeah.
no point.
And it seemed to be different if, like, you know, I don't know, like Victor played some major role in some grander scheme of some biblical shit or something. But like, it almost feels like this whole thing was like pointed at, you know, Victor or whatever. Like, oh, you got to make a choice. Yeah. One girl lives, one girl dies. It's like, I don't know. It just felt weird. It didn't make sense. It's like, why would the demon even like pick like that, right? And on top of that, you know, we'll get into it later. Like, what service does picking even do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It's honestly stupid as hell.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I was like, really? That's
right.
what they decided to go with?
Yep. Now, so of course, you know, Victor's like, oh, I'm not going to choose. And, you know, Catherine's mom's like, okay, we're not going to choose nothing either. It's like, okay, cool. And then after that, the Father Maddox, he bursts into the room, full exorcist garb, got the purple scarf on. He starts praying.
This scene is so funny because it's like the way they did like the music and stuff.
Right.
I was like, oh yes,
like,
finally
oh,
he's coming to help us. He's gonna save us.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so funny.
And so he goes over there and he starts, you know, he puts his hands on their head and he's praying. He's doing the rites, praying.
I guess that's where he messed up, right? Because they weren't supposed to touch him.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. They did say don't touch him. And then suddenly, like, at first it seemed like it was working, but then the girls kind of like changed and one of them started turning their head, and he started getting like affected. He had his blood vessels getting all jacked up. And then they ended up like turning his head all the way around and like disconnecting his spine and killed him. Boom.
Yep.
Done. Just like that.
His neck.
Yep. The special effects are really good on that part, but
yeah.
This is one of the issues I had though. I was like when did they become that strong where they can just kill somebody in the room? Just like that. And if that's the case, why didn't they kill nobody else?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
You're right.
It doesn't make sense. And you know, I hate when movies do that where it's like, oh, suddenly they strong as hell, they can do whatever. And they just like, oh, I'm gonna kill this priest.
You do be saying that.
Like, okay, you just kill him, but you're not gonna kill anybody else. Okay, that don't make no sense. But that happened. That was just stupid. He was pointless. He was pointless. He did nothing.
He didn't do anything.
And so after that happened, everyone's like freaking the hell out, right? And so Victor goes and gets the purple scarf and puts it around Angela. And, you know, he's like, oh, you know, this is your connection to your mom. Yeah, I got the scarf. That's what you needed.
It was sweet.
Yeah, it was a real sweet moment. Because almost like he was like, you know, like opening up and saying like, oh, like here, like you can connect with your mom. Because he's very closed off about her mother.
He's like, I love you. Your mom loved you.
Yep.
Like, because I guess the demon spirit was trying to harp on the fact that she wasn't wanted. And so therefore she was unloved.
Yep.
But he was trying to show her that you are loved. We did want you.
Yep.
So yeah, that was sweet.
And I'm actually surprised that like her mom didn't show up. I fully expected like the mom to show up in some sort of way, even if it was just like a spiritual like force ghost type shit or something. I don't know, but
or like what's the name of that? Oh, it might have been the boogeyman. Was it the boogeyman when they had the candle?
The candle
at the end.
Oh yeah, that was good, man. Where it's like, oh, it's our mom or something like that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they sure did do that.
Oh, it was a lighter. Was it a lighter? I don't know. Either way, it was dumb.
Yep. Hey, I would have even accepted that. But now after that, this is when Catherine's dad yells that he chooses Catherine.
Idiot.
Stupid mistake.
It was dumb. Number one, like I said, this man has not been involved at all, basically.
Yep.
Like when they first came in, everyone's taking their shoes off. What's Catherine's dad doing? He's like, I'm not taking my shoes off.
Yep.
He was resistant the whole time. He would hide in the bathroom, outside on the porch. Like, he was trash. Yep. And then here he come being trash again.
Trash. Selfish.
Very.
He's like, oh, I choose you, Catherine. And then, so then we get like, you know, Angela starts having a negative reaction. It looks like, you know, she's basically going to die. Like, negative reaction. So Victor starts to unhook Angela, and then she like headbutts him and like knocks his ass like super far back. And this is when Angela gets unhooked and she starts to float, hovering in the air, starts to spit out all this black stuff, and the black stuff goes all over the ceiling. And then it cuts to Chris McNeil in her bed, and she like lifts her hands up as if she senses that some shit is going down, and like she's praying for them, So it cuts to that. And then, and hey, sometimes she could tell she got some powers. She said, look, she said in the beginning, I can't do the Exorcist shit, but I got some powers now. Don't play with me. I'm Chris McNeil. I'd have been there and back. So yeah, she spit all this black stuff. I did this weird thing where it like spun around, almost like a portal or something. It was really weird. And then Angela flatlines. Boom. Okay, so they're freaking out. They think she's dead. And then Catherine starts to flatline. And then Catherine kind of like fades and retreats into her own mind. And then this is actually probably one of the best parts of the movie. She starts to like, call for her parents, like, Mom, where are y'all? I can't see y'all. Like, I can't hear you, whatever. And then, she's back in that like waterway from the beginning of the film where they actually initially started to try to talk to Angela's mom. She's down in that waterway, and then you hear like the demon say like, because I think she can hear her dad say like, I choose you. And then the demon says something like, Catherine, I choose you. We get a flash of the demon, and then like all the demon hands like pull her down onto the water. Super creepy. Probably one of the best scenes.
It was very creepy.
Movie.
But like I said, I didn't get this because ultimately, she's the one that gets taken, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And it, like going back to the point of them choosing a person.
There's no point to it.
There's no point to this.
Nope.
There's no point to this at all.
Nope. And, obviously it's a play on being selfish because, her dad was like, I choose you. So the demon took her because of, selfishness and stuff like that. Still dumb. Still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's punishment for that dad for, being an idiot. So that tracks, but just the choice of one living, one die makes no sense. Now they're probably gonna try to do this shit where like they since it's a trilogy, they're gonna like try to connect it all after the fact. But I hate the fact that they're gonna do it that way because everything should be contained within the movie itself, at least to make sense.
Yeah.
Now after Catherine flatlines, Angela actually wakes back up. And they're over there trying to resuscitate Catherine. The paramedics and the police show up. They're trying to revive Catherine, and eventually it gets called that she's gone. Like Catherine is completely passed away. So that kind of concludes the exorcism portion. And then it cuts to like some time has passed. It doesn't really say how much time has passed, but it looks like some time has passed because Angela's back in school. It shows Victor dropping her off and stuff like that, like old, just like they used to. And then while a montage of that is happening, we're showing Angela in school and stuff like that. Paula, the nurse, is talking to that detective woman that we saw earlier in the film about what she thinks evil is. So we get this, long monologue about, evil, how it's all about destroying hope and things like that. Not a huge fan of the monologue because I feel like it's very like on the nose. Like I'm more of a big fan. I'm a bigger fan of the movie and its conclusion being the monologue in and of itself instead of you telling me exactly what the meaning of the movie was in an exposition. Not a fan of that shit. So that plays out. Of course, she's back in school. It shows Catherine's parents at a coffee shop. And at first, it just shows the dad sitting there by himself. And then you see the mom kind of walk in afterwards. And then, I think you and I both were talking and we kind of got the impression that maybe they were separating. It's kind of hard to really say. Because Paula talks about people grieving in their own way. Might not be
together.
Yeah. I mean, you said it too. You're like, shoot, like it's his fault. So
it is. I would definitely blame him.
Yeah. So she probably left his ass.
He absolutely be blamed.
Yep. So then after it does that little montage, it cuts to Chris McNeil.
It's like the ending of is it Halloween Ends? When they were taking the body down the road but they were doing that whole like exposition at the same time.
Oh yeah, that was Halloween.
I felt like that.
Yeah, that shit was dumb as hell. It's very very much like that. I don't know why they do that in these movies. Don't do that. So after the montage, it actually cuts to Chris McNeil in the hospital, and someone walks in.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Victor, is that you?" And then you
Yeah.
see a hand touch her hand, and she realizes that it's Reagan. Linda Blair is back. Is
Yeah.
back. So Reagan is back. You know, she's back reunited with her mom. We have no idea why. We have no idea why she's there, but she's there. We'll find out, I guess, in the next movie. And then after that, we get the ending title card, The Exorcist Believer, while the theme is playing. And there is surprisingly no mid or after credit scene, even though a sequel is already in the works as a trilogy. It's even got a name, The Exorcist Deceiver, but we got no additional teaser in the credits of this film. The Exorcist theme is still fire. It always will be. Fire. But then that's it. Like, kind of just like a terrible ending. A lot of dumb stuff. Like you said, Babe, a lot of great concepts, but just after about that 40% mark, the movie just goes downhill. It just gets so stupid and so fast paced, and just it ruins it entirely.
Yeah, I really liked the first half of the movie.
Yeah,
I literally was in there like, why is people saying this is bad? Because this is good.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, that first 40%, I was like, wow, this. I was almost like wondering. I'm like, you know, because I'm like, even if the rhetoric online for something is bad, I'm also gonna give it a chance, right? So I'm sitting there looking like, am I liking this? Because this ain't bad right now. Like, this is not. And then it hits that point. You're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, now, okay, I get it now. And like, it gets so dumb that I'm sitting there thinking like, there's times where I'm sitting there thinking like, this movie is just so stupid. This movie's so bad. Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah. But yeah, what's your concluding summarized thoughts for The Exorcist Believer, Bae? And then give your rating.
Okay, yeah. Concluding thoughts, I thought that the movie had a lot of really great ideas, and they just weren't able to cohesively put them together to make a really good flowing film. I also think that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, as well as in my spoiler-free review, I just really wish they had went a little bit further with this.
Yeah.
Push those boundaries a little bit more. I would like to have spent some more time in the, you know, beginning stages of the possession, to see the progression of it, and maybe a little bit more clarity on how it all went down.
Yeah.
And obviously to have some kind of purpose, because obviously this one didn't have none.
None whatsoever.
I mean, does it really have to have a purpose? I guess it could go both ways. I feel like in this case, it didn't make sense the way that it all went out, but I really like the cultural aspects of it, like the Haitian, Hoodoo, Caribbean flavors that they put in there in regards to the rituals and stuff like that. I really like the special effects, practical effects, the way the kids looked, the way they acted. Leslie Odom Jr. did a good job. Yeah. So I mean, I had some things that I really liked about it. It just ultimately overall as a complete picture didn't live up to the expectation.
Yep.
And so my rating was 2.75.
Yeah, which is, I thought, was strangely high, because that's basically average. But yeah, so for me, the pacing was super terrible. Like you said, great concepts with like the different cultural beliefs, involving different religious backgrounds, different cultures. That was super dope, but the execution of it all was just so poor. We got no time besides like the first 40% of the movie to really build up into things. There's no nice clear line of progression. It was always just kind of jumping from scene to scene to scene. We didn't get that slow build up of possession. We didn't get that showcasing how it's affecting the different people over time. We didn't get to see like Victor's battle for, regaining his faith. His faith just kind of came back like in an instant. It wasn't like this gradual thing. We starts to like really wonder and think, and that was kind of my biggest issue. It wasn't, the concepts were good, but we didn't get time to build up to hit certain, milestones within the film. Of course, certain things were just dumb and didn't make sense. Like the one girl lives, one girl dies. Why? Like, what's the point? That makes no sense. And just overall, just a lot of dumb things. I feel like it just does not live up to the original Exorcist. I don't think it's a great sequel. They kind of, I feel like, wasted Chris McNeil's character, but maybe she didn't want to really be in there anyway. And so they just had to put her in there for fan service. Um, some great performances. I thought the girls did a great job, especially when they're in possession mode. Fantastic job switching between possession voices and talking regular. Killed it. Leslie Odom Jr. did great too. And it's just disappointing because the concepts are there, but the execution is just so poor. It feels like they cut out so many different things, and so you get this. The editing just feels like this. Like just jumping from like storyboard point to storyboard point with no like road in between to build to it. And I'm wondering like if there could potentially be a different version of this film using a lot of the cut material to build something a little bit more cohesive. Because the runtime is only 2 hours and 1 minute. So you take credits off, it's not even 2 hours of actual movie. So I kind of wonder if you were to add in like another 15, 20 minutes, could it have felt better? Because we would have been able to spend time and build up to these different moments in the film where they tried to make them pivotal and make them meaningful with social commentary about faith, love, religion, cultural beliefs. I feel like they would have hit better. We would have been able to buy in if we got that extra runtime to actually be able to connect and build to that. But it's the same thing that happened with like Halloween Kills. It feels literally the exact same as that movie, and the like just terrible writing and dialogue, and just weird editing choices for the film. It's really the same thing, like, and makes me very concerned and worried for the rest of the films in this trilogy. So we'll see. But yeah, this movie's bad, and I'm gonna give it like I think probably like around a 1.25. And it's even remaining above a 1 because of the sheer good idea concepts. That's about it.
Wow.
But yeah, y'all, that's what we think about The Exorcist Believer. Let us know in the comments what y'all thought about The Exorcist Believer. Did you like it? Didn't you like it? What didn't you like? What's your favorite scenes? What do you think the sequel movie would be about? What do you think the trilogy would be about? And I posed this question on our non-spoiler review, but what do y'all think about them picking somebody else to write and direct the second movie? Because maybe we could turn this franchise around, turn the trilogy around, and have a better trajectory. It's definitely possible. Maybe they should consider doing it. But let us know also your rating for this film as well. But that will conclude today's podcast, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. If you made it this far to the entire podcast, we of course love doing this, y'all. We love sitting here discussing everything horror, from horror movies, TV shows, games, everything, man. It's such a great time too. It's such a great time too because it's the spooky season. So it's all about everything horror. Yeah. But of course, baby, I enjoyed the conversation with you today. I love coming on here and talking with you, baby, all the time on the podcast.
Look at you being sweet.
Yeah, man. Because hey, look, this is a great conversation with the spoiler review. It's a fun one. There's a lot of trailers and stuff. But let us know, y'all, down in the comments. What y'all thought about some of the trailers we talked about, some of the news we talked about too. We'd love to discuss all the things we talked about on this podcast with y'all. Make sure y'all are following us and subscribed on Spotify, Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, IG. Look, y'all, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers on TikTok. We're getting real close. So help us get to that point because we're considering maybe doing a giveaway of some of our merch that you can find over on inlovewithhorror.com. So make sure you're subscribed to all of our channels, from YouTube to TikTok to IG, everything. And while you're at it, leave us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to the podcast at, leave us a rating. That just helps boost visibility for us. But again, This has been In Love with Horror, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening, and we'll see y'all on the next podcast. Peace.